Have you ever considered how global capitalism continues to expand its reach, even in a world that often seems already fully commodified and privatized? Modern accumulation by dispossession refers to the contemporary processes through which wealth, resources, and public assets are transferred from collective or public ownership into private hands, not primarily through market exchange, but often through coercion, political means, or financial manipulation. It is essentially about seizing existing assets, rather than creating new value through productive labor. The core mechanism involves what geographer David Harvey identified as new forms of primitive accumulation, distinct from Marx's original concept of creating the conditions for capitalism. These modern forms include the privatization and commodification of essential services like water, education, and healthcare, turning them into profit-generating ventures. Another key aspect is financialization, where speculative practices, debt crises, and asset stripping lead to wealth concentration. Furthermore, managing crises through state intervention, such as bailouts and austerity measures, often facilitates this transfer of public resources to private entities, alongside the enclosure of intellectual property rights over seeds, genetic material, or cultural heritage. To understand this phenomenon in practice, one might observe local struggles over land rights, the deregulation of public utilities, or the expansion of global financial markets into new territories. For example, when public land is sold to private developers for luxury housing, displacing existing communities, or when patent laws are extended to cover traditional knowledge without equitable benefit sharing, these are manifestations of this process. It is not always about direct violence, but often about subtle shifts in legal frameworks and economic policy that favor private accumulation. A fascinating insight into this concept is its connection to the idea of spatial fixes. When capital faces overaccumulation crises in one region, it seeks new territories or spheres to exploit, which often involves dispossessing populations of their customary lands or resources to open up new markets or sources of cheap labor and raw materials. This can manifest globally, linking seemingly disparate events like land grabs in the global south to pension fund investments in the global north, highlighting the interconnectedness of these financial and political maneuvers. Ultimately, understanding modern accumulation by dispossession helps us recognize the ongoing, dynamic ways in which capitalism expands its frontiers, not just through production and exchange, but through the continuous transformation of common and public goods into private capital. It reveals a critical lens for analyzing contemporary global inequalities and the persistent struggles over access to resources and fundamental human needs.